Well, hey everybody, today's going to be a slightly different video than what we've done in the past. For the last couple of weekends, I've been working out here in the garage to try and organize stuff. Like, it's a mess in here. And by the way, this is better than it looked 3 weekends ago. It started with trying to get things organized and up off the floor and out of shelves. So I built these shelves that hang from the ceiling up here. The idea was put things in bins, get them up out of the way. And I still want to really turn this area into an area where if I want to come out here and do some work, I can. The problem I have is I don't know that I want anything permanent. I mean, I have my sander over here and bandsaw and lathe along the wall. And oftentimes if I'm doing some work, I might very well need to pull it out in the middle of the garage or in the driveway. So what I want to do is build some kind of a rolling, solid workbench that I can, store up along the wall. It can be a workbench I can come out here and just do work on. Or if I need to do something like cut something on the table saw and use that rolling workbench as an outfeed table, I could do that. Or I could put it out in the garage, or on the driveway, and do my work there. If I'm covering the surface of it to paint or stain something, being able to roll it outside. Those things are all handy. And unfortunately, with the lack of a workbench, every time I needed to do something, I'd get the router table or something. I'd stand it up on this cheap little, folding table in the garage. It just wasn't very good. So last weekend I took a quick stab at building myself a little 2-foot by 2-foot cart with folding arms that would extend to about 7 feet for my chop saw, and it worked really well, and it was a really simple design. So today I figured I'd walk you through how we're going to build this rolling workbench. Solid as can be, movable, heavy duty, and the beauty is it only takes 6 2x4s and a half a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood, and you're going to see it's really, really sturdy. It's going to be a good workbench. Let me show you the folding table so you can get a sense of the style we're going to do, and then we'll get started and we'll actually build this thing. So forgive the light here, but this is kind of what I'm talking about. I just did this. It's 24 inches by 24 inches, 2x4 base. It's on nice rolling wheels to make it easy to move. And for an extra 35 bucks or whatever it cost, I bought some brackets. I'll put a link down in the description below of how to do these, where to buy them. But it gives me a really nice surface here, and it's big for cutting what I need to with the actual chop saw, and this really does work well. There you go. Nice thing is I can lock both these wheels, and this is good and permanent. These are, you couldn't sit on it, but that's good and sturdy, and when you're putting 2x6s, 2x4s, whatever it is up on here, that's plenty strong enough for it. So, all right, let me show you how we do this bench. All right, like anything I do, I start with a plan. So we're going to have 48 inches across the top. This is going to be 27 3/8 inch for these legs. We have 2x4 frame that we're going to do on the side, so that gives me 1.5 inches on each side. So in the end of the day, I want this to be 36.5 inches tall with the wheels. That's so that it will work along with my table saw height. Here's a side view. I just sketched out what the frames will look like. There's going to be a little additional support we're going to put in here underneath this lengthwise, where the 2x4 goes up and down, right? So thicker way, just to give some extra strength and support. All the legs are actually doubled L-shaped legs made out of 2x4s. So I've got my cut list here. I need 2 24 by 48 inch pieces of plywood, so a ripped half sheet of ply. I'm going to need 8 pieces that are 27 3/8. That's for the corners, so each 2 will form a corner. We'll get 4 corners. I need 4 pieces that are 41 inches long. That's going to be for the the long sides of the frame for the top and the bottom. I need 4 that are 24 inches. That's going to be the side frames. And then I'm going to need 2 that are 45 inches, and that's going to be for these extra supports right here. That's it. That's my list. Now that I know all the pieces I need, there's these great free online tools that allow you to sort of optimize your cuts. So you tell it what you're going to buy, right? I said I'm going to have 96 inch length 2x4s. I put in all the pieces that I need, and it gives me the optimal way to cut it with the least amount of waste. You can even put your blade width size in there if you want. Really does a good job. I'm actually not going to bother with that. I'm going to make sure that every cut I do, I'm going to split right down the middle of the blade. So everything will probably end up being 1/8 of an inch shorter by the time you add the cuts on the top and bottom, but that's okay. This is again, this is an outside rolling workbench. I don't need to build this as a precision tool here. So yeah, really good stuff, and I've got all my cuts. I will start doing this. So I do like to get my pieces out and mark them all in the very beginning. It kind of helps me speed up the entire process. So this first one, based on my cut chart, I'm going to need 4 pieces that are 24 inches long. I'm going to do that out of this, so no waste out of this one at all. Just use a speed square to make sure I'm getting these nice and square. And now it's sort of just a matter of rinse and repeat here. So I'll go ahead and do that real quick. This one's 45 and 90. You can see what I mean about the weight that this thing will hold, right? But, you know, I've got the 4 big legs there, the 8 here, the 2 long brackets there, the 4 sides there, so it does just fine. By the way, I'm using an 80 grit sandpaper. This is not going to be finished grade. I just want to knock it off of there. We put this away. It's time to start planning our frames, and we're going to go ahead and drill our pocket hole screws for all of these so that we can assemble them fairly quickly. To make this frame, I'm actually going to use pocket screws here, and we're going to put these just like this. I want the long side to be as short as possible. So rather than have the side pieces go on the inside, they're going to go on the outside. That's the reason why this one's only 41 inches. By the time we add in our items here, we'll be back to 48 inches. So I need to put pocket holes, 2 in each end of each of the 41-inch long pieces, and then we'll assemble these square frames. Let's just go ahead and get going on that. So while I had the Craig jig out, I went ahead and drilled the pocket holes in 4 of the 27 3/8 long pieces because these are going to form essentially a leg like this, and that'll be the L-shaped corners of the legs. So I'm just going to leave all of these right here. I did 4 of them with pocket holes. The other 4 won't need them. Let me get this cleaned up, and we'll start assembling the frames. So I've assembled one of the frames, and I'm just getting ready to assemble the other. Over here. Yeah, right here. Hey, do me a favor. If you like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel and click on that little bell notification so you get notified of new videos. Thanks. All right, with that, we've got another frame here, and this will be either the bottom that the wheels will attach to or the top that the workbench will go on. So now it's just a matter of assembling these legs, as I mentioned before. Again, we just want them to be L-shaped, so I'm using the clamps here as a nice way to hold the pieces in place, and as well as ensure that I have everything lined up and that they're nice and tight when I go to put the pocket screws in. So I'll take this one, it's going to go right there, and I'm going to use these clamps and connect to the back side of these right here. Get those nice and tight. Nice way to get these in place. Get 3 pocket screws for each leg. You could probably get away with 2, but it feels like it's a little bit more secure this way. And I put the middle one in first. Just think it's nice to have that piece grounded first in place. Here's my L-shaped leg, exactly what I want. Again, these will sit this way, and the top will go on here, the bottom below it, countertop over top of that, on top of wheels. I'll assemble the rest of these off camera and show you how we assemble it. So now it's a matter of assembling this thing. I basically just drilled some holes through here and laid the legs here. I put the bottom down. It's not none of this is screwed together yet. I have 1 screw tacking in each leg. So I'm not going to actually attach it down yet. This is really just to make sure that they're fairly square. Let's start by driving these in. I know this one seems fairly straightforward here. All right, so we've got that assembled. I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to attach this part down here to it, same exact way. And then we're going to, once we flip it over, I'm actually going to look at where I align the screws, because that side on the bottom is actually where the casters are going to go. So it'll be nice to raise that up a little bit. Let's go ahead and do just that. Now you'll notice I have the pocket holes on this side. I want them to be exposed so I can either go underneath it and get to the top of the bench to tighten it if I ever need to, or when it's flipped back over again, where the wheels will be right here, I'll be able to just reach inside of it and tighten those up if for some reason they were to come loose. So I've played around with the wheels to figure out where the best place is where I can still get to the locking lever, but most of the wheel goes back underneath the cart. So if I put it at this angle, I can actually get two 3.5-inch long screws all the way down into the actual feet. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I've marked those spots. I'm going to go ahead and pre-drill. So this one is not going to go through the caster. The other two will. So we'll just get the one that's not going to go through and use that to anchor everything in place. Now we'll take two more of those screws, but I'm going to put a washer on these so they don't go through the caster here. Just going to get this lined up and away we go. I like to just get them started, and then we'll adjust as we need to. Pull this right to the edge. Now I'm only going to put two screws in it for now. I'll change bits and put the other screws in a few moments, but I'm going to go ahead and put the wheels on the other two sides. We'll get this guy flipped over. So before I flip this over, I'm going to put these supports in. As I mentioned before, this is upside down, but think of this being the bench top. I want as much rigid support on that as I can. So if I'm hammering down on something, this would be stronger this way than that way. So I'm putting these right in here, and we'll screw these together. That will give us some nice strong support. All right, with my casters on and those beams in place, it's now time to flip this guy over. And there we have it, nice and stable, roll around. So now all I need to do is cut the top. I went ahead and ran up to my local Home Depot store and just had them rip a piece of 3/4-inch plywood long ways. So it is 24 inches. They should be 8 feet, which should be half of that. I'll put the top half on here, and the other one I'll cut just a little smaller, and I'll put it right down on this bottom shelf. That's the reason why there's a lip there. Lets me put the shelf right there and build some additional storage inside of the cabinet as well. But as you can see, nice workbench, roll around, good and solid. And I did go ahead and buy the wheels that all 4 swivel and all 4 have a lock on them. I have bought wheels before that were 3-inch casters, and I gotta tell you, go 4 or 5-inch, they just roll so much better, like going up the little lip in the garage and everything else. So there we go. Let's get the top cut. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and cut using this guide. I'm going to use something a little less aggressive on this than I did on the 2x4 frames. I'm going to use 150 grit and just go real light on this. There's a sticker on here for the price of it. I'm going to use that as the bottom just because I want it to look nice on the top. For some reason, the first time I do a project on it, it'll get all scuffed up, but still. All right, that feels nice. This is going to be my top. I think I'm going to take this off and I'm going to cut that bottom. It'll just be much easier to mount it with the top off. So put this aside. All right, I've got the bottom shelf cut. I'm just going to give a little edge sand to it real quick. All right, and now it's just going to be a matter of putting this right inside here and screwing it down. And now it's just a matter of mounting the top. Now, because this is the top, I want the screws to all line up. So I'm actually going to measure where I'm going to put the screws on this. And away we go. Let's go ahead and get a couple of these screws in here. Put these in where I got the clamp down first. And I'm driving them nice and far below the surface. And with that, this workbench is done. As you can see, it's really sturdy. It moves around really easy because of the size of the casters. The real nice thing about this is hit the little locks here on the wheels. And it does not move around much at all, so that's really good. And I designed this so it's the exact same height as the chop saw table or the table saw. So this can be turned long ways, stand the table saw up and use it as an outfeed table. It really is going to be handy. The nice thing is I can build some shelves down below it if I want, store some items in it, and then be able to just roll it right in along the garage, along the wall. And then when I need to do some work out here, I can just slide it out or move it off the wall for whatever the project happens to call for. Well, there you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This really is a pretty easy project to do. I'll go ahead and put the plans and the cut list down in the description below. If you want to make it, feel free to go ahead and pull that information down. Honestly, it's always good to sort of look at what somebody else did and then make it work for you. That's kind of what I did. I watched several other people's plans for workbenches, and I just modified them a little bit to be what I needed. I said earlier that you can do this with 6 2x4s and a half a sheet of plywood. That's if you're buying 8-foot long 2x4s. Strangely enough, the 2x4s I brought home were 92 5/8 of an inch long, so I had to recalculate my cut list because that's what I already bought, and it took me 7 of those. So yeah, we'll call it $50 for the 2x4s, $55, and plywood's pretty expensive. I did buy 3/4 inch sanded birch plywood, not Baltic or Russian birch like the really good stuff, but just a nicer surface even though it's thin. And that was, I think, right around $60 as of early 2022 when I'm filming this. I had them rip it long ways, so it was 24 inches long by 8 feet long. It fit in the car better, and I used half of a sheet. So you could just go buy a 2-foot by 4-foot section. They have them pre-cut usually as well. But yeah, so I built this thing then for, let's call it maybe $110 or so if you count the whole piece of plywood. Plus the casters were another $30. So $140, pretty handy little workbench. It's good and solid. I mean, that's not gonna go anywhere. Well, I think I'm gonna try and brush all this sawdust off of me, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.